Welcome to the Research Conversations with the Faculty of Management Sciences. Scholars committed to making impactful societal change through research.
Greetings viewers, welcome to our channel Research Conversations with FMS. My name is Dr. Elvis Madondo. With me here today is Dr. Sipho Masuku, who recently completed his doctoral research project with us. He's going to take us through his study. Dr. Masuku, welcome as a summary of your study.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Madondo. As we've just alluded to my name and surname and also my qualification. Actually, I'm a forester by profession. So I've done a study on women's participation in decision-making in agroforestry conducted in Umvoti Municipality. Well, if we talk of agroforestry, this is the combination of forestry and as well as agriculture, where people they put agriculture together with the trees. So my study was based on those issues, where I worked with women who are practicing agroforestry in Umvoti Municipality.
That's so interesting, especially that you have extensive experience in that industry. Okay, so can you give us a brief background about your study?
Thanks, Dr. Madondo. Forestry is mostly practiced in South Africa and also abroad. And also we find that women are also involved in forestry as well as in agriculture, but waiting for the trees to grow before you get income and before you even enjoy the benefit of forestry. Where I looked at women where they were collecting wood to collecting wood for firewood and also to plant vegetables. So these are not combined. So when I looked at it, I found that there is difficulties where men are mostly involved in tree planting, but at the end of the day, they want food on the table. Yet women, they are there to collect food. So in other households, you find that it's only women who are household heads. I find that there's a lot of issues that lead to women not participating, particularly in decision making, where there are meetings, but women they are there, they attend the meetings, but they don't contribute, they don't participate in decision making. So they wait for men to make decisions. Yet they are the ones. So I visited some of the areas, especially abroad as well as nationally. I went to Kenya, I went to Tanzania, I went to Zimbabwe, where women are practicing as issues that hinders them to participate in decision making.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masuku. So you have already highlighted the problem statement of your study and the aim. I picked up that. So briefly, can you take us through the literature review that you did, the notable findings from the literature or from other studies, so that we see the gap that you identified from the literature?
Studies that have been conducted there. And you go to Nepal, you find a lot of studies that have been done by the Nepalese on the agroforestry. You get to other countries, you go to Kenya, Nairobi, there's a lot of information that has been gathered on that issues. But I was not also looking at only where the countries, but also looking at the other literatures where people have been have some studies on women to say how can women be educated well. Like for instance, if you look at, if you want people or you want information that be cascaded to the people, I used Paulo Freire, where he reflected that women are mostly oppressed by men. So I used the literature there reflecting that no, if people if we can create an awareness to say they are oppressed because they are denied access to land, and how can they also be part and parcel of agroforestry? And there's Madondo from Swaziland, who also reflected that there's that kind of a problem where women, they are denied, not that they are only denied, but it's only that they lack information, they lack knowledge on how they can access agroforestry practices. Then they still remain and depend on their husbands, or even if the husbands, they are not at home, but they still say, I will wait for my husband to make a decision on this. Even if then what I've also noted was that even if the man is not at home, the women is not even allowed to make any decision on land until they have to get permission from men. Those kind of information. In South Africa, it's very difficult, but in South African countries, you do get some information, even though it's not enough, but there's a lot of information on those countries.
Okay, thank you very much. And I've seen that you've identified a gap whereby most of the studies were conducted in other countries, and very few studies were conducted on agroforestry in South Africa. And you tried to fill that gap. That's very important. So now let's go to the methods that you used to collect data, and tell us briefly what were your methods and your participants and the instruments that you used to collect the data.
Thanks, Dr. Madondo. Well, when I engaged with the communities on the ground, I chose 6 local wards where women were practicing. Actually, it's not the agroforest, but it was a kind of community gardens where they were working, because they were not aware that they can combine the two. But in those 6 wards, I selected women who were fully participating and fully aware of agriculture. Then what I did then, some of 36 women were selected, which means I had 20 women whom I was engaged with in the focus group, as well as the observation.
Okay.
Yeah, so with observation, and the 16th group was selected randomly, and the 21 was selected. I used the purposive method to select women from those areas, and the other ones I used random selection, where the municipality gave me the names of the people, because I was working through the municipality. Then they put in the names of the people, especially those people whom I've selected. Then they were selected from the head. Then we just picked them. We thought they picked about 16 of them. That was a random sampling. So from those random sampling are the ones that I used them for interviews. I interviewed them, each one of them. So although there were some few questions that I got from the people whom I selected for focus group, as well as for observation, but the focus group ones was those 16 women, which makes the total of 36 women who were participating in the whole process.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Our viewers now are interested to know much about the findings. So what did you find from?
Well, the finding was very difficult, because I had three questions that I was looking at. The first question was the extent to which women are participating in decision making in agroforestry, and the second question was, how do women learn about agroforestry decision, and the other one was what are the strategies and processes that are currently used to enhance women's participation in decision making. So working around those questions, then the finding was that, first of all, most of the people in rural areas, they are not education, they lack education. So they cannot embark on agroforestry because they've got no knowledge of agroforestry, how they can go about. They know how to plant a tree, but to plant a tree together with the other crops, they didn't have that knowledge.
Okay.
The other thing was, the other finding was that people, they were afraid to discuss issues with their men because culturally they respect the male figure at home.
Okay.
So they have to wait, or maybe without knowing. And the other issue was, the finding was that they don't have access to land. So they can't do anything without getting permission, even if the husband is deceased. So the husband, the in-laws will say, no, you cannot do anything in our land, this is our land. So there was a lot of issues that they say no. But I discovered was to say, starting the groups that will work as women, or starting the cooperatives, that's when people will learn from each other through observation. Maybe they can use radios, maybe they can use WhatsApp, that kind of stuff. So the engagement of people is only that we need to teach them and also to engage them educationally. But what the type of education they need is not the education, is the type of learning process, not education per se. Because if you say education, we mean formal education,
Okay.
where you need people, because they are old people. People whom I dealt with was from 40 and above. Some have never been to school, because of some cultural beliefs. So people whom I worked with, is only to say, in order for them to learn, it's only you engage them starting from the indigenous knowledge system. Engage them with the indigenous system. Then you build on that. Where they require training, that's when you can say, maybe you call it either extension officers or any person that will come and say, if you want to plant a tree like this. If you want, but what I mostly learned, my finding was that there is a very shallow intervention, or there is a lack of intervention from the government side, where we say there are advisory services or extension services who can play that role. To say people must come, let us train people on the ground, not to take them to school or whatever it is, because it's too late to them. But what people they can learn through the indigenous knowledge system can play a major role in teaching the people the ways and means, and also where we can, the strategies that we can use to also to engage women, so that they can get knowledge and can have love and passion of agroforestry. So people, what is linking to people, they can't adoption of agroforestry is not there, because they don't know why do they have to engage on the agroforestry, what are the benefits, that kind of stuff. But through the engagement, through indigenous knowledge, through education, and through extension services, then that's when they said, no, we are interested. How are we going to get water? How are we going to get equipment? How are we going to get that kind of stuff? So people, they can start becoming interested in growing. So that's when they start planting, beans together with the gum trees. You tell them, why do they plant gum trees, why do they plant peas, or why do they plant beans. They have to plant beans at the younger stage, early ages of the tree, so that the beans that they'll be planting, they'll also, those are pond-bearing plants, which they can retain nutrients. So with that nutrients, they don't, it goes back to the soil. Then the trees will utilize those nutrients that have been brought. So when they clean the area, cleaning the beans, they'll also cleaning the area and protecting against fires, protecting against animals. But at the end of the day, when the trees are grown up and the canopy is closed, that's when you say, no, you can't, because you can't grow anything, because there is no sun coming down. So nothing can grow under the trees. Then it's one of the things that why we said, or else we say, no, when the trees are grown up, let the vegetation grow under the tree. Then during winter time, you can bring in your cattle when the trees are grown. So when the grass is dried and everything is dry, then under the trees, the grass will be green. Then they can graze their cattle. That will enhance their milk production, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. You have made some notable findings that have implications for practice. So our viewers are watching, some are important stakeholders, but they want to know some recommendations that you can give based on your findings. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Madondo, my recommendation was that we need to have the government or different departments on board. Department of Agriculture and Department of Forestry. They must work together so that, because this is an agroforestry, so it's a combination of both agriculture and forestry. If they work on the very same communities will benefit, because this they will bring in the crop that can be grown within the trees, and the forestry section, the department will come in and introduce trees that will also be able to grow together with the trees. And now, if there is the absence of extension officers on the ground, that's one, it lets people not to be interested. So I recommend that at least the departments must try to increase the number of extension or service advisory people on the ground, so that they can be accessible to the communities. And they should not select to say it's a male or female. Some women, they were complaining, said no, they don't get these services because most of the men, they work with the females, with the males rather than with the females, because there were no females. So now there's that kind of issue. So if we could then be able also to bring in the local government, where they can maybe support them with water or whatever it is, all the equipment, the accessibility to the state, that will make a difference to the lives of the people. Okay. And that will also contribute to the food security. The people, they won't say we are hungry because we don't have food, we don't have anything. While people are still waiting the trees to grow, they will also be benefiting from the agricultural growth. Those are trees, the trees, they normally take 5 to 8 years to grow. So when you plant trees alone in one place, so it means you have a place that is there waiting the trees to grow for 10 years. But if you utilize the area while we are waiting trees to grow, yet we are still getting some crops, then you eat, then that will help. Then. So that's my recommendation to say. At least there must be people available who assist the local communities on the ground.
Okay, thank you very much for the recommendations, Prof. Dr. Masuku. And I think our viewers are going to make an impact from the recommendations that you gave, and the study is so relevant for societal change and for economic development, for food security, etc. So thank you for embarking on such an important study.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, we are going to keep on engaging Dr. Masuku to see how the impact is going to be made based on the findings and recommendations from the start. Thank you, viewers, and kindly like and subscribe to our channel for more insightful engagements with our researchers. Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by the Faculty of Management Sciences.